All right, want to welcome everybody to another episode of Levi's Youth Sports Talk. First, thank my sponsors, Justin Womack for the chain and Steve Aguado for the banner you see behind me. I'm the host, Levi, and now let's welcome Miss Austin Softball, Big Ten All Freshman Team, NFCA All West Region Second Team, D1 Softball Second Team All American as a freshman as well. Want to welcome Rylee Slimp to the show.
Hi guys, happy to be here.
Riley, like at what age did you start playing softball, and what other sports did you play growing up?
I'd say I started pretty young. I mean, like when I was 4 years old, I'd say I was in the front yard, like hitting off the tee with my dad. But no, I didn't actually start playing, like I guess, travel softball or anything like that until maybe 8U, 10U. So that's when things like started getting serious. But yeah, other sports, I played volleyball for a while, a little bit of track. I'd say
Mhm.
softball and volleyball were my two biggest like focuses, but once I like realized softball was the direction I wanted to go, I kind of like singled it just to that and laid off volleyball a little bit.
Okay, so like in high school, did you play both sports, or was it only softball in high school?
I tried to play volleyball my freshman year. It was a lot just because, like travel softball in the fall kind of like conflicted with high school volleyball. So I think after that I was like, yeah, I just gotta stick to softball. But I did try track my junior year because the seasons were a little bit different. And I liked it a lot. I liked track a lot, but yeah, it was just a junior year thing.
Okay, okay. Talk about like playing in select and how was it competing in the big tournaments? And did you feel like while you was playing as like your older ages, did you feel pressure knowing like college coaches is just there, watching to see how you perform?
Yeah. No, I think travel ball is a great experience for me. I mean, that's where my love for softball kind of grew, was just in that environment. And like I always loved, the competitive games and just like playing with a bunch of other girls who also, wanted to win. So I think I definitely thrived in that environment. And of course, like it was once like recruiting started getting, pretty heavy in like 14U, 16U, it was definitely like there were nerves there when, because pretty much every game you're gonna maybe get a college coach or a few or a bunch. So I mean, like I feel that. But no, I think it's just like just you're out there to like do what you love and compete in the game just because you love to compete, and I think like that kind of shows on the field. So yeah.
Okay. So your recruiting process, how was it? Was it stressful? Was like you said, I know I wanted to go to UCLA. Once they, gave the yes, it was a, for sure, or was it other schools? I mean, you're in Texas, right? And
Mhm.
you was right there on the outskirts of Austin. So, you got UT right there, A&M about a couple hours down the
Yeah.
road. So for you, how was your recruiting process?
Right. Yeah, no, I think I knew. I was very much, yeah, I went to a lot of camps when I was younger. I went to many UT camps, A&M camps, because like you said, like so close, like right in Austin or like around this area. So I think I kind of knew once I got a little bit older that I wanted to venture outside of Texas and like just I just wanted to see different things. I've been here my whole life. So yeah, I think I knew like in the recruiting process that that was kind of my goals. I wanted to play out of state. So yeah, I'd say I was very open minded. Like I had a lot of schools I was interested in. I wasn't closed off. Just kind of I just wanted to see all of my options and what was out there. So I think yeah, I went on 4 visits, including UCLA. No, sorry, yeah, 4 visits, including UCLA, and then I was planning on taking six. And I think when I got to on campus on UCLA, I just kind of, I just fell in love with the environment, and I canceled all my other visits after that. And I committed like I think it was literally 2 days later. We hopped on a Zoom call and I was like, I want to be a Bruin. Like, I know this is where I'm meant to be. And like, I don't think I could imagine going anywhere else. So I think that's just like that feeling that I got was something I was like, I didn't need to, I didn't need to look anywhere else.
Okay.
So yeah, I
Okay.
mean, kind of like long-winded way to say that like I kind of explored a bunch of things, but
Mhm.
like I found my home in the end. So
Okay. So like what, like you said, yeah, the other schools, what was like let's say UCLA wouldn't have offered. I mean, we didn't want that, of course, but what would have been like the next option for you?
yeah, I mean, if I think so a little bit like about my recruiting journey. I mean, I didn't wasn't really UCLA wasn't really an option for me until a little bit later, just like in the sense that I wasn't sure that there was interest there, and I think like at my last my before my junior year, my travel ball summer, I think my last tournament, like one of our coaches had come to watch me, and then they invited me to a camp. It was like we were in Alliance, we were in Indiana, and so I flew out to LA. Like I think it was a few days later after the tournament ended, and after that, like they had called me on September 1st. I had set up a visit, everything like that. But yeah, I wasn't really sure like that would be an option until a little bit later in my journey. So I think yeah, if it ever came to that where like UCLA wasn't couldn't be a choice for me, I'd say I did have some like interest in the SEC, just that environment. Like I really just the competitiveness of it. Like of course, like who doesn't want to play in the SEC? So I think maybe like some of the schools like Tennessee. I think I really liked beautiful campus, like great coaching staff, great people. I think I took a visit to South Carolina, also very beautiful area. I spent like a little bit of time in Arkansas. So like I said, like SEC was a little bit a part of it. I had like some interest there. And I think like it was really SEC and West Coast. So I think
Okay.
like I had some interest in Oregon too. So yeah, I think just those were some of the other options. But no, I'm really glad that I was given the opportunity to play at UCLA because yeah, I'm just as happy as I could be, and I couldn't imagine going anywhere else.
Okay. And like you said you like the environment, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you could explain like what for you what went all into choosing, the UCLA and not the other school, as in coaching staff and players and I mean really positions, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
where can I play at too? Did that come into effect? Like okay, these schools have players, in my position. I know I can compete and be the best I can, but I wanna play like right now, right? Like so for
Yeah.
you, what did all that come into effect in choosing UCLA?
I think a little bit less on the side of like I wasn't thinking too much about like position wise because I mean I know that like center field is obviously like where I want to play. Like I want that to be my main position, but I'm also comfortable playing left field, right field, and kind of my mindset was like I will play anywhere on the field that they need me. Like if for some reason they needed an infielder, like I would learn how to be great at infield, like
Mm.
wouldn't be my first choice, but yeah, so that was kind of my mindset going into it. Like I'd work hard as a freshman coming in and like I would earn my spot. And of course, like you're surrounded by incredible players. Like these are all the best of the best, like the top 1% in the nation. So,
Right.
I knew coming in that like it would be a grind and there would be a lot of hard work put into it. So I think, yeah, that's just kind of where my mind was at. Like I wanted to come in as a freshman and earn my spot, even if, there were like other competing position players around me, if that makes sense.
Yep, makes a lot of sense. So once you got to UCLA, what's something that you wish you would have done more of as in like high school? Now we're gonna read off all the high school stats and all that too. So Oh yeah, that was there, right? So,
Mhm.
but for you personally, what's something that you wish you could have done more of in high school to make you a better college softball player so far?
Hmm. Um, I think, going in like my freshman year, obviously, like I started in left field. So I think like going into that, that was something new for me just because I, had played center my whole life. Like I was a center fielder. So not that like, an outfielder should be able to play every position, like of course. But I just think like going into that, I didn't realize, how different it would be. And I feel like it was a little challenging at first to like kind of get my footing in that area and just kind of like, oh, these are like the differences, just like because they are different positions. So I feel like that was that took, I feel like, a little bit of the fall away of my freshman year that I kind of wished I would have already came in being comfortable. And I feel like I kind of had to gain that comfortability as I was there. So I think maybe, and in high school, like it's hard, like the coach is gonna play you where they play you. But I think maybe getting more experience, in both of those other positions in the outfield and, just not being too comfortable playing just one position because I mean yeah, like you never know in college, like where you're gonna end up playing. So
Hmm. Right, and that I guess that's like a big thing, right? You go most of the time you're in high school, you make it to UCLA and these top schools. Most of the time, you are probably the best one on your high school team, right? And then
yeah,
you
right.
get to college, and all of those girls was the best ones on their high school team.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, how did you like, fit in, with the older girls and you got the transfer portal, so girls transferred in. Like, how did you fit in with the rest of the team?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean I think it's it's kind of like exciting coming in as like a freshman, like obviously a little bit nerve-wracking too, just being like the new one on the team. Everyone else is older than you, more experienced, like you said, like very talented. So I think like there feels like there's a lot of pressure as a freshman, just to come in and prove yourself, earn your spot, like just find a way in with the team. So I think that is like something that I kind of had to go with, but I think also just kind of realizing that like it is your first year, like you're there to learn basically and to take everything in and like learn as much as you can about the culture, about just the game of softball at that level because it is so different at, the D1 level than it is in travel ball, of course. But yeah, I think just going in there with an open mind and just trying to learn as much as you can is really like kind of where my mind was at, and also just taking all of the feedback that the players give you there because ultimately everyone wants you to succeed who's there because we're all there for the same purpose. So I
Right.
think also just taking that in and just learning as much as you can.
Okay. So we're gonna read off before we go any further. We're gonna read off these high school accomplishments that you that you got, right?
Um,
So we'll start off with first off, you was named Miss Austin softball your senior year.
mhm.
Greater Austin Area Player of the Year. Texas Softball Player of the Year. Number 8 recruit and number 4 outfielder by extra innings. Two-time district MVP. Three-time first team all district. I might have forgot some things.
No, that sounded about right. Yeah.
So that's like, hearing those things like, what was your work ethic like growing up, and what age did you realize like, okay, that can't always be there for me, so I got some days I have to go out and do certain things by myself. So
Mhm.
if you could tell us that.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I think like definitely any softball player who wants to, get to the college level, like there's got to be some type of like just commitment to the process and just also just the love for the process of just getting better. And I think like knowing that, not every day is going to be the day that you want to go out and like hit and take fly balls because, like we don't love to do all of that stuff like behind the scenes, but we all love to go out and like play on game day, but it's like it's the training and the preparation behind the scenes that like really take you to that level. And I think just finding a way to like fall in love with that process is super important. So I think like yeah, it took a lot of work. I mean, it was like me going, out every day after practice, after we'd spent 2 hours, 3 hours at the field and like just doing more reps on my own. And like even taking the weekends when like other people were out doing things that like maybe I wanted to be doing too, but just knowing that like I needed to get my work in the field, like I need to go every day. And like that's a commitment that I think you just have to make knowing like the goal that you want to reach and like where you want to go.
Okay, okay. So and then as a freshman, you was ranked 18th and amongst NCAA D1 freshmen and fifth amongst Big Ten freshmen in batting average. What did your how much did your work ethic change from high school to college once you got to college?
Yeah, I mean, I think like obviously once you get to the level you're trying to get to, like that's not the end point. Like I mean, you got to keep going with it if you want to be successful. So I think like obviously like the work ethic still had to be there. And I think like it just made it so easy like being surrounded by people who also wanted to be great. So I think like just the culture at UCLA that is built, like the culture of greatness and excellence, is just something instilled in all of the players and of course the coaches. So I think just being surrounded by all of that, like it really makes you want to be 1% better every day and just be the best version of yourself every day. So I think just having that in my teammates is something that just pushed me even further. Like having those people to go and hit with me that were also there for the same reason, to win a natty and to be like the best softball player they can in college. Like it just made it really easy to want those things for myself and to keep myself accountable to.
Okay. How important was communication with the coaching staff during recruitment, like at UCLA?
Yeah, you're talking about when I was getting recruited, right?
Yeah, while you was getting
Mhm.
recruited. Yes. Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think before committing, obviously, it's kind of hard because there's, rules and all that about talking with the coaches. But I think, you know, the coaches are a big reason to why I made the decision to want to come to UCLA. Just like the excellent, role models that they are like for their athletes. So I think just like they do like uphold that standard of excellence, every day. And I think they even showed that like just committing and, like every tournament we were at, like after committing to UCLA, they were at like a lot of the games, especially the big tournaments. And, it's just like, and it's still so much confidence in like a player when they see like their coach to the school they're going to out in the stands. Like it really tells you that like they weren't, there to just grab another player. Like they're there to see you develop. And I think that's something that like that I always noticed and that I always really enjoyed. And then yeah, I mean, just yeah, just really yeah, affirmed my choice to go there.
Okay. So you said right, you can the communication like while you're getting recruited, you can only talk to them at it's like so much or so about
Yeah,
certain
yeah.
things.
Yeah, I
Um.
mean, before September 1st, yeah, there's not much, conversations you can have with the coaches,
Okay.
so.
Okay. Okay. And like when you're talking to the coaches, is it more of like talking to like the school, like the recruiter of the team, or is it like talking to the actual head coach?
Yeah, no, I think definitely like going to camps and things, like you always have that like direct, or usually you have that direct contact with the coach just to kind of like build that relationship for yourself like as a player. Obviously like you have to keep conversations kind of short, but yeah, no, I think like getting to know the coaches and like having that direct contact is very important, like in recruiting, just to like, know like what program you're going into and like what kind of culture they like bring.
Hmm. So like like you said, you play outfield, your whole life. Most kids, they start off and they want to play in the infield. who wants to play in the outfield, right? It's like that's boring, right?
Yeah.
Especially so for you, what thrive and what made you just want to play or be great as an outfielder?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I used to be one of those kids who was like in T-ball when your coach would throw you in right field, you're like, what the heck? Like, I'm not playing in infield. So, like, yeah, I get it. But I think, like, as I got older, I don't know, I just, something kind of drew me to just playing outfield. And, like, I think I really started like calling myself outfielder only, like
Mm,
probably pretty early on, like definitely by 12U. So I think just, and I don't know what it was, like maybe it's just like I love to make diving plays, like I love to run around. Like I've always been a good runner with like some speed and like some range. So I feel like just my just physical attributes as an athlete just kind of already set me up to be an outfielder in a way. So, but yeah, I just think like there's just something so fun about it. Like being out there, like I said, the diving plays, like that's definitely the best part. So, yeah.
mhm. So other than the diving plays, how many have you ever been able to get some home runs, rob some people of some home runs or something?
Yeah, that's honestly, yeah, I had a robbed home run when we played Duke last year in Clearwater in Florida. And I think that was definitely something that like that was on my bucket list. Like that was like one of the first things I wanted to like, check off being in college. So I think yeah, that was a surreal feeling. And like I'm hoping for a lot more. So
Okay. Like what advice would you give to younger athletes who dream of playing at the D1 level? You're right, like you said earlier, you're like it's 1%. It's not many that's gonna make it to that D1 level. I know as a kid, us parents, we pump our kids up and tell them
mhm,
you're going D1 no matter what, right? But
yeah.
when reality hit, not a lot of people actually make it to that D1 level. I mean, after some years maybe, but right away. So, what advice would you give to a kid that want to play D1 softball?
Yeah, I mean, I touched on it a little bit earlier about just like I think falling in love with the process. Like I know like in the early stages a lot of parents are like, forcing their kids to like go hit and like you got to go like practice softball, all those things. But I think like once someone decides like, oh, my dream is I want to play college softball, I think the most important thing is to just find the love of like working for that, because that's a when you have that goal as a young player, like that's a long-term goal. Like it's going to take years and years to get there, and you have all of those travel ball years to get yourself that much closer. So I think yeah, just finding a way to fall in love with working for it and knowing that like this is something that future me is going to look back on and just be like really proud of yourself. And I think I even feel that sometimes too, that like because everyone has those days where they're down or where they're not feeling their best like as an athlete. So just being
Mhm.
able to look back on like my younger self and just know that she didn't go out on all of those Saturdays to hit on the field for nothing. It's because I made it to where I wanted to be, and because I've fulfilled the dream that I was aiming to get to. And even with that, I'm still trying to go, higher than that
Mhm.
and build something of myself like in college.
Okay. Like so now, like for me growing up, the mental part of sports was non-existent, right? Like you can't go to your parents and say, "Oh, like I don't feel it, like mentally I'm not there." They'll tell you you're a wimp or something. Get on out there and go play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nowadays, as us now grown, we really understand like that is a real thing. So, like for you, how do you approach the game on the mental side of it?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point because I think that's something that's just now starting to be talked about so much. And, I think it's something that I never really put much thought into when I was younger and like just starting out with, softball and, playing the game, especially in travel ball. But yeah, I think it's really important. And I think like, especially in college when, things are just that much harder, like the mental part of the game is just as important as, the physical part and the training. And like training training your mental game and just how you approach that is like I'd say you need to train that just as much as, you go out and hit in the cages. And so, yeah, I'm really grateful and blessed that, the program that I, decided to come to and it gave me this opportunity, like that they really like take that seriously. And like we have, mental coaches, mental like training experts, at our hands. And that's something that they put a lot of thought into and a lot of work into. So yeah, I just think it's something that, everyone needs to put a lot of thought into. Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, if you would call yourself, a type of leader, what type of leader would you call yourself?
I would say I'm definitely someone who feeds off the energy of others. So I think, as a leader, like I think it's always been one of my strengths to lift others up. And I think that's something I really enjoy about the game is that, like you have a whole team behind you. Like even when you're in the box, like one on one with the pitcher, like you have a whole dugout who's, you know, cheering behind you and who's like all rooting for you. So I think that's something that I love so much about our sport. And I think it's one of the great things about like, playing with a group of girls. And so I think, yeah, like one of my favorite parts is just, seeing other people succeed, like not just myself. So, like on a day where, I might not be getting the success that I want, it's just so much fun to see like others get their success and just lifting others up.
No, okay. Not so in college softball, right? Like you watch the well, I watch the games and
Mhm.
y'all just look like y'all having like the level of fun is way up here, right? Do
Yeah.
y'all like the certain things that y'all do in the dugout? Do y'all like put time in and practice those things, or some of the things just come at the spur of the moment?
Yeah, I mean, like, definitely the games with the most energy are like always the ones that are the most fun. And so I think like we like definitely it's a point at UCLA that like we're gonna have like the most energy. So I think like all the stuff you see in the dugouts like very big on cheering, So that's something like we had to come in as freshmen and like we had to learn all these cheers and like most of them are cheers that they like be making up on their own. Like
Mhm.
they're making their own cheers up. So it's like it's crazy. Like just the energy is so crazy. And so yeah, just coming in as a freshman and like being introduced to all that and just it makes the game so much more fun and I'm really lucky to like be in an atmosphere like that.
Okay. Now, how would you describe the team culture at UCLA?
Yeah, I mean, I spoke a little bit on it earlier, but just the culture of excellence is so important at UCLA. It's a very prestigious program. It's, the most winningest program in college softball. So I think like that's something that the coaches definitely want to instill in the players is just, like being the best version of yourself, like not just on the field, but the best person you can be, like the best, student you can be, the best athlete. So yeah, I think it's just yeah, that's something that it's definitely like one of one. Like UCLA is one of the few places that I really like could see that.
Okay. And when you went to California, I know you played, went there, played in PGF, and stuff like that. But when you actually have to stay there, for during college and stuff like
Yeah.
that, did you have like any type of culture shock? Like what's different from over there to being in this 2000-degree weather?
Yeah, no, the weather's great, I'll tell you. Like that was something like yeah, summers in California, like it does not make me miss Texas at all. But yeah, no, it is different. But I think that's like also something that I really wanted. Like I just wanted, like a change of scenery. So I think like yeah, LA is definitely very fast paced and like there's a lot going on and like just the area we're in, like so many connections and just like so many things going on. So yeah, I think that's something that like I definitely really like now that I'm there. And yeah, just the location's great. Like, I would say I get homesick like at times, but like it's just I feel like everybody there, even though it's such a big city, like everybody is so close knit, like all of the, sports programs and of course like our program, our softball program, like it really does feel like a second family or like a home away from home. So I'd say yeah, it's not too hard getting homesick.
Okay, yeah, nah, I'm betting, and time change and all of that
Yeah.
stuff. So, like, right, going to college, right, you're in college, you got to make sure you got to make sure you practicing, you got to make sure you have good grades, all of that
Mm,
stuff, right? You got to just make sure you're on top of everything. But
yeah.
at the same time, it's college, right? So, they have the parties and everything. Like, how do you stay focused and like, hey, I'm here for softball, and if going out a couple times with your friends is it's perfectly fine, but at the end of the day, I'm here to play softball. So how do you keep your mind straight, and also how do you balance academics and sports?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very easy to kind of just stay on path to like what you're there for when I'd say like you're surrounded by so many people who are also staying on that same path. So I
Mhm.
think like it's not too hard to like get distracted by all the things that are going on like you said. And just like we know why we're there every day. Like we all know our purpose and what our end goal is, and that's to win a national championship. And there's work that's got to be put into that, like both school and like in academics and on the field, because obviously UCLA is a pretty academically challenging school as well. So I'd say that yeah, that was definitely something that was a little hard, like going into my freshman year, just like knowing how to balance the academics plus softball, because I think it's in travel ball it's easy because it's two separate things. You have high school and you have travel ball, but yeah, in college it's definitely a lot harder to manage your time and make sure that your grades are good as well as softball, because I mean at the end of the day, if you're not eligible to play, then all the work you put on the field, it doesn't really mean anything. So yeah, I'd say that's definitely something I had to learn and get better at as a freshman. And I would say I improved, and I'm glad I put in the work because now I'm here in my second year and I'm feeling a lot better. So
Nice. That's really good. So, what is a typical day like for you during the season, and also do it change like during the off season?
yeah, I'd say off season in the fall feels a little bit more like we have, for us specifically, we have early morning weights. I'd say like the days feel a little bit longer just because like we have more hours. So I'd say we work out really early, we do practice, we pretty much have class for most of the day after that, and then by the time we get home it's like 5 6 p.m. We gotta eat dinner, we gotta then do our schoolwork, and then you go to sleep, and it's like it's just repeat. So the days can feel very long, I'd say, in the fall, and that's why like I think fall is like the hardest, and that's kind of where you lay the foundation for like going into season. And I'd say once we get to spring and we're in season, like it just kind of feels like you're just flying past, like everything feels so fast, because you have games every week, you're obviously practicing too. So I think yeah, season honestly goes by like in the blink of an eye. Like it went by so quick last year. I can't even imagine like 3 more years. It's gonna be crazy, but
Three
yeah.
more years, yes. How has your game grown you since you got to UCLA?
hmm Um, I would say honestly, I've learned to appreciate the defensive side of the game a lot more. Like, I think, especially in travel ball, like, everyone's favorite part is hitting. Like that's just kind
Mhm.
of like that's the fun part of the game. But I think like coming into college and like really developing the defensive side of my game has definitely made me appreciate it more, and also just love that side of it too. Like, I mean, I genuinely love like going out and, catching fly balls and, throwing the bases, and not just like, being excited to finally go hit in the cage. So I think that's somewhere I've really grown. And yeah, I've just like I found a lot of love in both sides of it.
Okay, yeah, because in trial it's like, hey, We got to hit. We got to do fielding. Oh no,
Yeah.
let's do hit,
In
right?
games, yeah, in games it's like, oh damn, we're on the field, like when are we gonna go back and hit? Yeah.
So what for you in your select, and then we get to college, but for select, like what was like your most memorable moment while you was playing in select softball?
I would say most memorable, definitely PGF. You know, PGF was always my favorite tournament. Super fun. I mean, of course, like I'm a little biased because I love California, but like just the tournament itself was so fun and like seeing, so many different like organizations from around the country like that we never get to see unless, we're playing in PGF. Like that was always super fun and like obviously the competition is just great. So yeah, I think PGF is always my favorite tournament. And then like obviously you got, the beach after games and stuff. So that's a
Mhm.
plus.
Okay, and so far in college, what has been your most memorable moment?
Definitely the World Series. Yeah, just like I honestly couldn't even pick out a specific game. I it was all just it like flew by. It felt, just
Mhm.
like a dream. Just yeah, definitely something that the whole time I was there, I was like, oh, this is 10-year-old me like dreamed of this. Like this is so crazy. So
Yeah, that's. I'm pretty sure making it there as a freshman like that's now. Hey, now you gotta step. You gotta keep
yeah, I got
going,
to keep
right?
going. Yeah.
So, how did practice? How is practice different? How do practice at UCLA differ from what you were used to before?
Um. Hmm. I think I don't know. I mean, like, because obviously in travel ball practices are hard. I think, like, just in college, like, it's definitely different. Like, in travel ball, you practice, like, on weekends, like maybe you'd have a few weekday practices, but, it's not every day consistently, like, like it is in college. And, like, you have that in high school, but, you know, it's not the same like high school compared to, college. So I think just like being on that schedule and like showing up every day, it was something that like definitely really excited me. And, especially like being in a great atmosphere with like great people, like just looking forward to go to practice every day was something that like it really just kept me going. So
Okay. What's some short and long term goals that you have for yourself?
mm, I mean, I think definitely like wanna be an All American. So yeah, I think that's really what I'm working towards, as I'm here in college, just being the best softball player that I could possibly be and, just showing up on the field and showing that and, being an All-American in the process. And I think like, of course, winning a national championship, you know, definitely more than one. So yeah, yeah, those are the goals. That's it.
You got 3 years, and
Yeah. 3 years to
my
make it happen.
TV my TV be on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's funny, like for me that I do this, right? I do the podcast, and mainly I really use sports, and I want to go in all sports, but like it's mainly just been softball because I mean
Mhm.
that's what my kid she been playing like she been playing since she was 3 4 years old. But when
Yeah.
she started playing, I wanted her to be so bad, and I wanted her to hate it. I, at first, I was one of those
Mhm.
parents where I was a basketball player, didn't play anything else, right? I was like, my kids have to play basketball.
Mm.
Well, let's just say that didn't work.
It ended up that way. Yeah.
At least for my older one, it didn't work. Now my younger ones,
Mm.
they like basketball. They're playing basketball.
Oh,
You
yeah, you
know,
got those, yeah.
yeah. My older one, she had went out for middle school team, made the
Mhm.
A team, ended up getting injured, couldn't play. And this
Oh.
year it was really like the same thing. But then she was like, I don't want to play because I have no idea what's going on. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you can play softball, which is literally the hardest sport, but you can't play basketball. You just running and throwing the.
No, I get that though. I'm the same way. I couldn't play basketball. Put me on the court and I'm gonna just be running around. I don't know what I'm doing.
So right, so it's funny, right? Because batting in basketball, you shoot 3 for 10 anywhere. You're terrible,
Hmm.
right? Go sit on the bench.
Hmm.
Softball, you hitting 3 for 10. Oh, that's really
Yeah.
really good, right?
Yeah. And you're
And
great. Yeah.
like for you, when you see your averages, do you really pay attention like to your averages like during the season, or you just just play?
Yeah. I think that's hard and like definitely it's hard coming to, college softball where, stats and averages is just projected like everywhere. Like you see that all the time. And, going to that from being in travel ball where like I didn't know my stat at the end of a travel ball season. Like I had no idea. So I
Mhm.
think, yeah, that's definitely something that it was a hard adjustment. And I think like it's really easy to get caught up in that kind of stuff but I think like yeah that's not somewhere you can like let your mind go like especially during season. But I think like again that has a lot to do with like your mental preparation and like just your confidence mentally and like how much time you put into that. And yeah, I mean, I think definitely just trusting your preparation and just trusting yourself more than like trying to go and, prove your average or, up your average is just that's really important.
Mhm. So y'all are gonna have a meet and greet this Saturday. What does it mean to you, to see these little girls want to show up and actually, and meet you, right? Because I think some softball players don't really understand, not saying you don't, but there's a lot of the little girls and they see you and they really think really, really high of you, right? You playing D1 softball. Like,
Mhm.
it's softball don't really, don't get no higher, right? D1, right?
Mhm.
So like what is that feeling like for you when you see girls, running up to you and meet greets, actually for your autograph and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think I mean definitely just as as a softball player someone who like has especially in college who like has some like influence just with younger players like I think it's definitely important to like want to connect and just yeah like I mean, if I was a little girl, I know 8-year-old me, if I was going and like I saw any D1 college softball player, like I would be like freaking out and let alone if they had said hi to me, like that would be the highlight of my year. So I mean, I think just like definitely recognizing that and I'd love to meet, anyone whose dream is to play college softball and, to have a conversation with them. And being like from Texas and like the location that I am, like if anyone aspires to be, a D1 college softball player, like I'd love to like be that inspiration for them, if I was. So I think, yeah, I'm excited to go out there on Saturday and just like meet people in the softball community and just, if meet some little girls who, might know who I am, like that'd be super cool.
Hmm. Like, what message do you hope young players take away from you? I'm pretty sure some of them they might ask you some questions, on different things. The little ones they might ask you some questions, and then it's like, how would I answer this?
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, but for you, like, what message do you hope to get across to these young players?
I think just that, anyone who wants to get to this level, who wants to play like with the best of the best, like on the biggest stage, like it's so possible for anyone. Like as long as you're willing to put the work in and like as long as you love what you do and you love the game enough, like it's so possible like for anyone, like no matter where you come from, who you play for, like where you're from, like you can go anywhere you want to go, like if that's your dream. So yeah, I think that's what I want little girls to take away.
Okay. So they have the NIL, and stuff like that, right? So how important is it for you, to get your name, image, and likeness out there to everyone, across the world?
Yeah, I think since NIL is such like a new and upcoming thing, like it is different. But yeah, I think that's also definitely one of my goals is just to do as much with, you know, my name and like my image and my branding as I can. And yeah, you know, just put myself out there and like if I like make some money out of it, cool. But I think like also just yeah, like building myself as a person and also as an athlete and building that brand. So yeah, I think that'd be really cool.
Okay. If you could choose one person to be on the podcast, who would you want to see? But you would have to help me get that person on the podcast.
I would have to help you. Oh gosh.
Got to be
Um,
somebody in the contacts.
someone in the contacts. Oh my gosh. Um, yeah, no, I had my answer prepared like Aaron Judge or something, but I guess
No. Whoa, whoa. I know
yeah,
you're
I
a
guess
Yankee
guess I'll have
fan,
to
and
take
I
it
was
back
like,
a little
man.
bit. Yeah. Um, I mean, I think like definitely just at UCLA, there's a lot of inspiring people. Like I'm surrounded by just amazing people. So I think just yeah, any one of my teammates like is just an incredible person and has such an amazing story. And I think like yeah, we're all there for one reason, you know, to win a natty and to be the best we can be. So I think any one of those people is definitely going to be inspiring to anyone.
You got what, 20, what, 25?
20
20?
including me, so a lot to choose from, but
Okay, okay. Okay, that's good, man. Riley, I really appreciate you, giving me your time, being on a podcast, spreading all the knowledge to all my listeners and stuff like that. And it's grateful for me to have someone like you that would agree to even be on my podcast. Right, I'm just a little podcast trying to make it through the world, right? So I really appreciate you for
yeah.
taking your time out and being on the podcast.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for inviting me and for, you know, just taking the time to like hear my story and get my input. That's really cool.
Okay, now after next year, we're gonna have to, I want to read that list of the. I need to read it more. All American first team. I want.
Yeah, I'll have to run it back with, you know, a few more accomplishments.
No, yeah, for sure. But again, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, have a good one.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
To run it back with, you know, a few more accomplishments.
No, yeah, for sure. But again, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, have a good one. Now we gonna go ahead. JB, you there? There you go. All right, let me get the next set of note cards. You can hear me? You can hear me?
Check in, Mike.
Okay, I can hear you. You can hear me?
Trying to get connected here.
All right. Getting there, y'all. Trying to make sure he's all connected and well.
My bad.
Stay tuned.
Hey, can you?
You there? Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now, Levi. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, sorry, I was trying to use my AirPods. For whatever reason, I could not get those to work. So,
They wasn't working. Okay.
yeah. So,
All right. So we had that nice beginning of the episode with Rylee, where she dropped some good knowledge on the podcast, on me, and I'm pretty sure on all the listeners that was watching live, and also the ones that's going to watch, once it get posted. And now we can switch over to Pops.
yeah.
We go down, everybody. Let's welcome. We got the director of Texas Blaze Fastpitch and the owner of JBS Creative Studios. Want to welcome JB Slimp to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Levi. Glad to be on. Trying to get my camera set up here so you guys can see me okay. I don't know if you can see me okay now.
Okay. Yeah.
Got the glare of the glasses.
All good, man. All good. JB, let's start off, man. What sports did you play, growing up? You started a softball, organization, but did you play, what sports did you play growing up?
Yeah, so as a youngster, I played mainly basketball, baseball, and some football early on. And then as I worked into junior high, I just gravitated. Well, I also played some tennis and some other sports too, but I gravitated towards basketball and baseball and played that into high school. Um, and played that through high school. I didn't play any sports in college. I actually kind of moved towards music about halfway through my journey in high school. Kind of moved away from sports and moved into a pathway of music and being creative. So, but yeah, I played a ton of baseball and a ton of basketball. Basketball was kind of my main sport growing up. Loved it, and I was pretty decent at it.
Yeah, that's me too. The only thing I played was basketball. I wasn't playing anything that was outside. I stayed away from all outside sports. So, like, what gave you the idea to start your own softball organization?
Yeah, so I have an older daughter. So Riley's our me and my wife Tatiana's middle child, and then I have an older daughter Brittany, and I started coaching her. She's quite a bit of a gap between Riley and Brittany. Me and my wife Tatiana have been together since basically just out of high school, and in any event, we had Brittany at a pretty early age, so there was a pretty big gap between Brittany and Riley. But I started coaching Brittany in all sports when she was young. I coached her in volleyball, basketball, softball, everything. Because I've always, had that. I've always been a really huge fan of sports. I love sports. I love to watch sports. I always love to play sports. I even as I moved into being a musician for a while, I still love to shoot hoops and get on the tennis court and play, anything I can. So that was always a big part of my life. So I ended up coaching Brittany in all of her sports. And then as we worked through softball, I started to really, really just enjoy coaching softball. And at some point, this would be probably the very end of the 90s, early 2000s. I decided to, dip my toe in the water with travel ball. So that's, so that's kind of where I kind of gravitated into coaching travel ball and softball in the early 2000s.
Okay, and you start, like you said, you started early 99, 2000s, and here it is, 2025, gonna be
Yeah.
2026. When you started the Blaze organization, did you know it was gonna be as successful as it is today?
No, absolutely not. I mean, everything is, is very fluid in the sense that you don't really kind of know where it's going, and you're working on the process, you're building something. I didn't, when I started coaching the first Blaze team, at that time, I just wanted to be the best 14U team in the state. Like I had a good group of kids. We had been playing, all stars and all that kind of stuff. And I just wanted to have a great 14U team. And, we accomplished that. And then it just started growing into more things. And then people wanted to start to be a part of it because, we were doing really well on the local level. And really it was when I had a few kids as they were working their way through junior high, working towards high school. I had a few kids that started asking about playing college, and I was like, I got no clue. So I'm gonna have to figure this out for these guys, and that was really my first real motivator to try to take it to a really professional level, was to help these kids early on get recruited. To take a step back, when I went back to college, I originally was going to college as a music major, but I did switch over to kinesiology, and because of my love of sports, and also at that time I was, coaching my oldest daughter Brittany. So I switched over to kinesiology, thinking I would end up being a high school coach or something like that, which would have been great. But just along the way, I decided that travel ball was kind of my thing, and when I had these kids, really good little team, and they wanted to go to college, I had to figure out how to help them get to college, And so I went to work on figuring that out. Ended up creating the Blaze as an official business, and hired some board members, and just went all in. Went full time into the Blaze in 2008. The Blaze has existed since 2003, so we're in our 22nd year. But it was really 2008 where I decided, man, I want to make this something special, and I want to help kids chase their dreams and play college softball.
Okay. With everything that you have going on, you do the photography, you just open the studio, which we'll get into that. How important is it for you to be involved with all of your teams in some kind of way?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously it's really important. I think, when you have a program that was a lot easier to do when we were 5 teams, 10 teams, 15 teams, 20 teams. You grow up to, you grow to 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, up to close to 80 teams. That becomes a real challenge. So you have to kind of look for creative ways to keep people connected and feeling like they're a part of a bigger picture of something. So I think, as a program, we do focus on that. We do a good job, I think, staying connected through our various groups that we connect with. All of our coaches are connected through a group network, and we're talking on a day-to-day basis. We do events like our Texas Blaze Jamboree, where we bring all of our teams together and we celebrate the Blaze for an entire weekend. Were you at that this year?
Yes.
Yeah. So you got to kind of see that. We had 2,500, 3,000 Blaze members there.
Yeah.
And it was just, those types of things I think can help bring a program together and create that family atmosphere, even though when it gets big. I can't be everywhere all the time. So unfortunately, I wish I could spend more time getting to know more teams, because I really love when I'm at tournaments. The Jamboree is my favorite because I can see the most teams possible. But even when I'm at a tournament, whether I'm up in Dallas or somewhere else, I always try to find where there are Blaze teams playing and try to go over and say hello or watch. So, sometimes I don't, have a chance to say hello, but I'll at least watch and, just try to. It's always really exciting for me to see every Blaze team that I can, So I guess the answer to your question is it's really difficult, but at the same time, as a program, you find creative ways to stay connected so that everybody feels like they're truly part of something and not just, on an island somewhere wearing a uniform. But it is a challenge.
Yeah. And just while we was at the Jamboree and just watching you just go field to the way back fields and come back, and then you doing all the stuff just to stay interactive with all the players and the coaches was like truly, it was like amazing to see, because I mean that's something that you really you don't have to do, right? When you go, you could be, I'm gonna just stay right here, people can come to me, but no, you go to them, you go to all the teams, you make sure you're going in dugouts and, with your camera and all of that stuff, right? Laying on the ground doing the picture.
Yeah. Got Yeah, when I go to tournaments, like for an example, let's say I go to Colorado, we always have multiple teams. I mean, literally, I don't do team activities, because I literally I get up and go to the first game at 8 o'clock, and I have my schedule planned out, and I don't get back to the hotel till 10 p.m. And all I do is bounce from game to game to game to game to game to get to see as many teams as I can within whatever environment that I'm in. At the Jamboree, it's the same thing. I show up in the morning, I look at a schedule, I try to check off as many teams as I can, and I just go from field to field to field to field to field, and I just do it all day long. And it's just because I'm trying to meet as many Blaze members as I can, or get to know the ones that I've met before, get to know them a little bit better, or try to find out what my coaches need, because a big thing for me is trying to find out what coaches need to help make their environment successful. I feel like that's a huge part of my job, is to help my coaches be successful. It's as a director, I'm a director only. I don't coach a team any longer. I coached a Blaze team for many, many years, but I've been fortunate to be in a situation where I can step back from that, because I have tremendous coaches everywhere in our program, and just allows me behind the scenes to try to be as active as I can with as many teams as possible, because I don't have to focus on just coaching, any one team or anything like that.
Right. And like at the beginning, you coached, and then what made you, was like stop the coaching part and just was like, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna just be the director. I'm gonna just oversee everything. Like what went what went into it that made you want to, step back a little bit?
It's a great question. There were really two times in our program's history where I really felt like it was time for me to step back and not be on the field. The first time was probably in 2000 and maybe 11 or 12. I had been coaching our 18 gold team at the time. We were having success. We were having lots of kids go to Texas and A&M and a lot of big schools. And we were really kind of catching our stride as a program and helping kids get to some of the bigger programs. And just to be very clear, the level of program that our kids get to, that in itself is not significant, meaning I am just as proud as every kid that goes to any level school, but at the same time, as a program, what you want hopefully is to provide pathways to every level possible. So whether a kid wants to play down the street at a school small there, or whether they want to, go to Florida, we want to be a program that can provide that, for them. So that's always been, a super important part of what we do. Honestly, my mind slipped there on the question. I got off track. What was the question again? Sorry.
Oh, like, what made you want, step back from coaching and just
yeah. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah,
it's all good.
My mind moves 1,000 miles a minute. So, so back then when our team was starting to really be successful in recruiting, we had more teams that wanted to join us. And I think we got up to 20 or 25 teams, and I was finding myself in a position that I really couldn't spend much time with other teams. So I hired some coaches back in probably 2011 or 2012, a couple of amazing young ladies to coach our top 18 gold team back then. And it allowed me to step back in the director position and really start to go out and work with some of our other teams and not really be tied to one environment. I really enjoyed that. However, at the time, I also really enjoyed coaching. Then Rylee came into the picture because she started to play t-ball. So at that time, when Rylee wanted to play t-ball, this is, I guess, maybe, I don't know, this is probably around 2013 or something like that. I don't remember. Yeah, maybe somewhere around there, or maybe a little before, but I knew I wanted to coach her. So that's when I gave up coaching a team kind of for good, as I decided that I would go back and coach Rylee. So I wanted, at that time I was coaching our 18 gold team again. So I hired a gentleman, John Carpenter, to coach that team. That allowed me to go back to start coaching Rylee in t-ball and coach her all the way up. So I was able to coach her from t-ball all the way up. we started a Blaze 10U team, and then I coached a group of kids all the way up through 12U Blaze. And then after that 12U team, it was time for Rylee to move to 14s. I decided then to step back again and only be a director and not coach any team. And again, really just for the ability to get out and be involved in heavier in other teams in our program. So that was the second time that I did that. And, there's been periodically times I've had to step in and coach for one reason or another, but I don't really ever plan on coaching a team full time because I love the behind the scenes being the director part of it.
Okay. What's one misconception that people have about running an organization?
Well, probably a lot. I think, I don't know about a misconception, but I think one thing that people don't understand is it is a grind. Like running a travel ball program of our size, I'm incredibly fortunate that I have an amazing leadership table. We have so many great leaders and so many great coaches in the Blaze. There is absolutely no way that I could run this machine on my own, nor would I try. It wouldn't be possible. It wouldn't be successful. So it does take a village. I think that's really important. But I think for the people that are kind of at the leadership table in our program, what people may not realize is this is a 7-day-a-week job. It doesn't ever really calm down, with the exception is a little bit in December. Honestly, this is the month here into January where we as travel ball leaders have a little bit of a break. Other than that, we don't have breaks. And so it's a real grind. It's a 7-day-a-week commitment, and you have to really love doing it because it just takes up an incredible amount of time. From a misconception standpoint, I think one of the things that at least I can speak from my own and also from some travel ball leaders that I know, I think it's a misconception that travel ball generates a ton of money. I always hear the things about travel balls and money grab and this and that, and directors are rich and all that. And but I can speak for myself, but that's not the case. It is a grind in a program of our size to keep the lights on, to pay the bills, to pay the coaches. Everything, is really difficult. And most travel ball directors have multiple revenue streams. Softball programs don't typically provide enough of a revenue stream to be the only thing, so I have some good buddies and some other women who are leaders, and they have other ways that they have to create revenue too, whether that's being a tournament director. And I know several travel ball directors who are also tournament directors, and that's a good source of revenue. For me, I kind of lean towards the media side. So I have, a media company and things like that. So maybe a misconception is that, all travel balls are money grabs and that all travel ball directors are rich, because that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
At least not from the travel ball part of it.
Right. And I think like that's one thing that when I got into the travel ball scene and everything, that's the one thing that you hear a lot, right? These directors, they got all this money, they make all this money from everybody, and I sit back and I'm like, well, they do have jobs, right? They got families, they got full-time jobs, and all this stuff, right? Like you got your own, media thing and stuff like that, right? So it's like, do you look at some parents, not all parents, some parents, I'd be wanting just to like, do you look like away from softball? Like, do you know them outside of being a softball, director of a softball organization? And a lot of people don't, right? Because they only know you because of softball. And it's like, well, I got a whole life, a real life outside of softball that, so
I got family, I got kids, I still got a kid at home. I have a son at home, and listen, Blaze is my full-time job, and it has been for many, many years. And I'm incredibly blessed that I get to wake up every morning and work in the space of softball and helping kids with dreams. I'm incredibly blessed to be able to do that. But it is a lot of hard work. But like you're saying, it's not my entire life. I have a life outside of softball too, other things that I enjoy, whether that's family or being a creative person. There's other parts of my life that I like to explore and spend time on as well. And I'm just fortunate that I'm in a position that I really look forward every day to getting up and going to work, and getting my Blaze work done and working on my media production and all that stuff. I'm just, a really blessed individual.
Mhm. So you have, there's certain coaches, right, that they kind of, stay right at certain levels on and in the age divisions, such as like Kane and then Bliss. Like, how do you go about? That's just a few, to
Mhm.
name. That how do you go about like picking those coaches, to stay at coaching them top level teams like that?
Yeah. I don't know that there's any kind of formula or single formula. It all kind of comes out of the experience and the relationships that you start to build. You start to build a relationship with somebody that comes into the program as a coach. Maybe they came in as a dad coach or a mom coach, or maybe they came in as a professional coach, but you build that relationship. And then as that relationship builds, you build trust. Once the trust gets to a certain level, then you feel like you can put them in a spot that needs a lot of trust, right?
Mhm.
So if we're going to have professional paid coaches that are coaching our, let's say, our Blaze 18 United or one of our Blaze 18 Gold teams or something like that, I need to be able to trust that those people are doing it for the right reasons and doing an amazing job. So I think when it comes down to selecting those coaches, it always just kind of happens organically. You meet a coach, they come in, they do an amazing job. I always try to find out what my coach's goals are. What do you want to accomplish out of being a travel ball coach? Because again, going back to what I said earlier, big part of my job is helping them achieve what they want to achieve. So as I'm, on that journey with them, it just kind of organically works out to where I see, okay, well, this will be a good fit. You spoke of Caitlin in our United track, our Blaze United track. She's at our 14. Caitlin's coached our 18s for many years. She's a high school state champion. She played college ball, coached college ball. She can coach at any level, but she's
Mhm.
really, really gifted at the 14U level because I think she really helps young athletes kind of see the big picture of what softball is. I'll just stay on the United track just because, I started there, but Lauren at our 16 United is an incredible coach. She's a high school coach. She's a former Division I athlete at the University of Houston. So she knows the game. She knows how to coach the game. She's a tremendous mom, tremendous person, built relationships up and super confident that, she can do with our 16 United what needs to be done. And then her husband, Corey, both of them have been in the Blaze system for over 12, 13, 14 years. So again, the trust factor. Corey's a tremendous coach on his own and, coaches our 18 United group. Again, that comes over time. Most of the coaches that are coaching in our program at our upper level teams, I've known for years and years and years. Some, like Mike Prinzo, I've known for, 15, 16, 17, I mean, shoot, maybe 20 years.
Right.
Mike's been with me for about 20 years. So, it just over time you build trust with people and you elevate them to leadership positions.
If you could tell parents why they should choose Blaze, what would you tell them?
Pretty easy for me on that question. The people, you know, our leadership, the people that help drive the momentum of the Blaze, the people that help me make the big decisions, whether it's our directors in the other areas. You spoke of Becky Bliss, and I don't want to get into too much naming because I'll end up missing some people, and I don't want to.
Right.
But that goes, whether it's Michelle in Houston or our new guy up in Dallas, Justin, or our local guys here, Corey or Rick. I mean, I've got so many. I can just keep going and going, Levi. So that's kind of my point is that we're really blessed that we have so many incredible, great leaders in our program. So if a parent asked me why the Blaze, I would say, one, I think we have the most dedicated and best coaches in travel ball, and I think they do it for the right reasons. So I think that is a huge deal. I think that we also provide pathways to every level of softball that a kid dreams of. So that's important. You get a kid that comes into our program, they have pathways to whatever their dreams are. You know, if their dreams are like Rylee's to play at a UCLA and play at a College World Series, well, guess what? We had 4 kids in the College World Series last year. If their dreams are to play for Team USA, we've had Blaze kids go on and play for Team USA. If their goals are to play pro softball, we have kids in the pros. If their goals are to coach college softball, we have kids coaching college. You know, if their goals are just to play down the street so that their parents can come every weekend, we have kids who are playing down the street so that their kids can, you know, they can go, their mom and dad can come see them play every weekend. So that pathway is important, I think, as a parent and to a kid to know that we can provide every pathway possible. So really, you get to pick your pathway, you get to work for it. And if you believe in our process and our big picture, we can absolutely make it happen, as we have been for over 20 years.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Have you ever thought about going outside of Texas, getting teams outside of Texas?
Yeah. And we've experimented with that, but you know, at the end of the day, what it comes down to, and I kind of talked about this earlier, it's about finding leadership, right? And I don't have the bandwidth nor really the motivation to try to be a leader outside of what I'm already doing in Texas. You know, we have over 1,000 kids here, so that's a lot. So if I have the right leadership that's out of state, then yes, I'm interested. And we have experimented. We've had teams out of state. We've had them in Michigan, New Mexico, Oklahoma, you know, Florida. We've had some various teams, but I don't look to purposely expand it unless I find the right leadership that's going to help me do that. If I found the leadership that wanted to help take what we do to a national level, then I absolutely would do that, because I believe in how I believe in our processes to help these kids. So I would love to expand that beyond the state of Texas, but it would require the right leadership to come on board. And right now I just don't have that kind of bandwidth, but you never know. I'm always looking for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no, that's understandable though, right? Because I mean, you got a lot here, so it'd be tough for you to be traveling state to state, you know, to make sure you're giving those teams the same amount of attention that you're giving teams here in Texas too.
Yeah.
So what's the hardest decision you've had to make as an organization director?
I think it always comes down to disappointing people. You know, you don't want to disappoint people. I think sometimes our decisions disappoint people. So whether it's a decision for us to maybe ask a kid to move from one team to another, and maybe they don't really, you know, maybe that's not really ideally what they want, but we feel as a program that it's in their best interest and we just need them to trust us. That can be difficult sometimes, you know, because you never want to disappoint the kids. You know, I always have been a coach that I never want to disappoint my kids. You know, I believe in all of them. Even when I was coaching my teams, you know, it was not easy for me to write a lineup because there was always somebody I had to leave off the lineup. And I didn't like having to leave people off the lineup. That always, you know, was something that I took very seriously. I would literally stay up all night thinking about what I'm trying to do, because I don't want to disappoint these kids. You know, they pour a lot into this. I don't want to disappoint the parents. So I think any kind of decision that I have to make that might provide some disappointment is always the hardest. Another one might be making leadership changes. You know, I've had to do that from time to time, and that's incredibly difficult, you know? So yeah, I would say making decisions that ultimately disappoint somebody is probably the hardest part of my job.
Okay. So we'll get into the photographer picture taking part of this thing. So like, how long have you been doing the whole photography thing? And yeah, like, let's start there. Like, how long have you been doing the photographer part of it?
So I actually have only been doing photography for about a little over 3 years. However, I've been doing videography for 20 plus. You know, as I spoke earlier, I have this huge creative streak. I have this one side of me. It's like I'm, you know, two people. I have this one side of me that's just really competitive, sport driven, and everything that kind of, sports is about. And then I have this other creative side that likes to create things for not only myself, but for others, and then ultimately myself as well. So being a musician for many, many years, that was how I kind of fed my creativity. Um, as I became a travel ball director and really went that route as my 9 to 5, if you will, and my full-time job, my creative outlet was creating videos. And then that really sports videos, whether that's like a doc style or some kind of hype style, or I've created thousands of recruiting videos, over the span of 20 years. So the video part has always been my creative outlet. But about 3 years ago, I started shooting action sports, starting off with my son, shooting some basketball and other things. And, I fell in love with that creative process. And, I just really got bit by the photography bug, and I just went all in. And I've been really working hard at being good at it for about the last 3 years. So that's kind of how I went or got into the photography, really was from coming out of the video side of it.
Okay. So, what made you want to, open up your own studio, and what steps did you have to take, into doing that?
Yeah. Again, everything, not necessarily some master plan. I think as I became pretty good at photography and started having some people that wanted me to do things for them, I felt like I go out and I shoot in different places on location, and that's a lot of fun. But I always felt like if I had a place to work on my craft, that I could be more efficient with my time, meaning I could really get a lot better at the art of photography if I had a place to practice it and not always having to do it on location, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that part of me was always there. We have Blaze offices in Hutto currently, but we're going to be moving them from Hutto. And so I had I was actually going to do some photography stuff in our office space over in Hutto, but then decided to move the offices to Georgetown. So we're in the process of going to move some Blaze offices to Georgetown. So what I decided to do was create a space in Georgetown that could not only have our office space for me and some of the leadership that work on a day-to-day basis in the Blaze, but also be a photography studio. So it's a shared space, and I think so I think it's not something I necessarily have been planning for years, but I'd say over the last year or so, I've been really heavily thinking, how can I get myself into an environment where I can be super efficient? I can work on Blaze. I can get up in the morning because I'm an early riser. I work up between 5 and 6 a.m. and I go straight to work, have my coffee, and I jump on my computer and start my business stuff. So having a place where I can work on Blaze business and the art of photography at the same time, or in the same, without having to go from one place to another, is kind of ideal. So I think that's how it kind of came together.
Okay. And what has been the best thing so far about being a photographer?
People. I mean, it's the same thing, softball provides this too, but I think at the end of the day, life is about relationships and, getting to know people and getting to know people's journeys and their stories. I think photography is a way to help document somebody's story, document their life. When you take a picture and it's a meaningful picture, if you think about your favorite pictures you have of you or your family, those are history. Those will be passed down, to your kids, who may pass them down to their kids. And so you're creating history. And I think my favorite part is knowing that I'm creating something that's fun for me to create, but ultimately that somebody else will cherish. It was the same thing when I wrote music. It was the same thing when I created these videos. And it's the same thing with photography. I'm basically creating something that's special for somebody else, but the process of doing that is also special for me.
Okay. What is the biggest challenge about capturing like the action shot, right? Because you hear and they just moving around, but then you get a shot, and then you look at the picture and it's like, I can't put that out.
Yeah. Listen, I have a lot of people say, man, your action shots are amazing, and and some of them are pretty decent, but I have to take thousands, hundreds, thousands to get those shots. I think the advantage that I have is I've been around sport my whole life. And so I understand kind of the nuance of what a game is, and kind of how, because great photographers are able to look ahead of the game and kind of see what's coming, so that they can try to get, they very specifically know what they're trying to get a lot of times. So I think my superpower in that way is just I really understand sports, so I understand how to kind of look for what I'm trying to get. I think the hardest, most frustrating thing is I miss all the time. I fail all the time, whether it's because I'm, not completely focused and I miss an incredible play that I know would have been a magical picture, or I get the picture but it's blurry. I mean, shoot, when I was shooting Rylee at UCLA, I can't tell you how many times that I missed the shot of her, like robbing that fly ball against Duke that she was talking about. I was at that game. I was shooting. I did not get that. I didn't have my camera in front of my face for that. Luckily, it was on TV or whatever, so I was able to see it. But things like that. Just always knowing where to look for the next great shot.
So you have the grand opening coming up. What's one thing that you're looking forward to on Saturday?
Just having people come by and see what it's about. I think, one of the things that really excites me about having a photography studio is, and this may, sound silly or something to some, but it's creating human connections, because photography can be a very, it can be a very fun thing to get people together and to create memories, right? And so I'm trying to create an experience, there's a lot of ways out there that you can get great images now with AI and all kinds of stuff, and that's fantastic because it allows everybody to do all these creative things that we can never do. And I love AI for a lot of different reasons, but there's just nothing like getting a group of people together and creating some magical moments. And I've been able to do that so far in the studio, whether it's families, it's friends, it's people in school, athletes, like creating some magical moments together, and then letting them create them with their families and stuff like that. I mean, it's an amazing process, so I really love that. And so I'm hoping on Saturday that I get to show this space to some people so that they can see just how cool it is, because, I don't know for you, Levi, you probably can relate to this. I'm a lot older than you are, but, back in the day when you get your family pictures, you went to the mall, I don't know if you ever had to do that, but back in the day, we went to the mall, and then your mom would slip you in, you would go into this mall, and it was the most embarrassing thing ever. You're just like, I don't want to be here. This is not what I want to do. Stand up against a white wall at a mall in a line, it's just like, but it, and then, with digital cameras coming into phones, really gotten away from all of that. But the photography experience can be magical, man. I mean, bringing your family in and spending time together and creating these crazy cool images. It's a lot of fun. It's nothing like the mall, So I love providing that environment, and I'm hoping that people that come out and work with me will get that. And so far, the response has been huge, that when people come in and they shoot with me, when they leave, they're like, what, that was an experience. That was a human connection spent with my family or my friends. And it was something more than just, holding up and grabbing a quick selfie, which is important. I even have a selfie station in my studio.
Okay.
But I'm just telling you, the human connection is amazing. So I would just love people to come by and see what it's about. And hopefully I'll get a chance to work with some. We will be doing, I think it's really, I want everybody to know that all you have to do is come by and say hi, sign up and get a ticket, because we're going to give out portrait sessions for families. So, for parents, you guys come by. And we're going to give out portrait sessions. We're going to give out athlete media day sessions. We're going to give out some really cool stuff. All you got to do is show up, and we're going to do drawings for those. say hi, check out the studio. It's really chill, man. It's just come by, say hi, shake hands, let's meet, enter into one of these little contests, and get an amazing experience, out of photography for it. And then for you athletes out there, obviously Rylee will be out there for you softballers. She's a lot of fun. So come out there. We're going to have pictures of Rylee that we're giving out to all the athletes that show up, so they can get them signed. They're 8x10s, really cool picture of Rylee. So she loves to talk to softballers. So I think it's just going to be a fun time, maybe small and chill or whatever. I'm not expecting big riots or anything, kind of casual people coming by. But at the same time, I think for whoever does come by, it's going to be a lot of fun. So it's right there in Georgetown off of 29 near Wolf Ranch. So pretty easy to get to. So I would love to see you guys out there. In the athlete part starts at 3. It's just going to run about 45 minutes to an hour. Before that, we're going to do families at 1:45, I believe. Anyway, that schedule, you could send that out to your people or post that, but that schedule's everywhere.
Yeah,
if you go to jbscreativestudio.com, you can see the schedule there and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. What went into, decorating the studio, or, doing, like you say, you got the selfie station and all of this stuff, like what went into this, and as a man, did you think about all this, yourself, or you had the wife help you?
No, man. I'll be honest with you. My wife will back me up on this. I mean, this is my deal. You may not, I don't know if you can see this in where we're at, but I actually have, I have a music studio. So I've been doing this kind of stuff. Let me see if I can get my camera here. I'll just kind of give you a quick tour here. My drums, okay, all my guitars over here.
Oh wow.
My vocal stuff, everything. So all my computer equipment, drum machines, all that kind of stuff. So my point is that I've been a musician for my whole life, and I've been creating music, and I still do when I have time. So creating something like this was really creating the photography studio was really just a natural extension of that. I kind of knew what I wanted, the vibe that I wanted. I wanted kind of a high-tech warehouse vibe, and so I pretty much knew what I wanted. Now I don't have the money to do everything that I want. I'm fortunate that I've been really working on my photography gear for about 3 years. So I've built up a good collection of gear. So I really didn't need a lot of gear, but I did need a lot of studio type gear, backdrops and things like that. But I kind of knew what I wanted to do and have done a lot of it within the means that I have to do it. But there's still a lot left that I would love to do in that studio. I'd like to create a dedicated podcast room, I'd like to have a dedicated YouTube channel in there. There's some things I want to do that I'm not there yet. That are kind of phase 2 that I hope in maybe the next year or so I'll be able to put together. But right now I just want to, get in there and take some magical pictures.
Okay. So I have two questions. There's kind of one question, but it's two questions.
Okay.
Right. So being a successful director of an organization, right? What advice would you give to, like the smaller org, directors of the smaller org? What type of advice would you give to them?
Well, the first thing I would say, and I can only speak for myself, because I can't speak for other directors who are maybe in my shoes or doing, this type of thing. But for me, everybody is important. There's no one program that can carry the softball community, and really serve it well. So I embrace other programs. I would advise other programs, if they're smaller, to feel free to think that they can reach out to me, and I'd be happy to help them. I have helped many of softball directors or smaller clubs in the past who have asked for help, whether it's advice or whatever. But I think what you have to understand when you're running a softball program is you have to decide what your why is and why you really do it. For me, it's been really, really simple. My motivation by running the Blaze has been to help kids chase these dreams and to play college ball through the sport of softball. And that's been my main motivation, and it's what drives my decision making most. I've also wanted our program to have longevity. I wanted the Blaze program to not be about me or not be about any one team or any set of coaches. I wanted, when my time is done, I would love for the Blaze program to still be providing pathways of opportunity to college. So I think longevity and doing it for the kids is my why. So I would just say to smaller club directors, know what your why is and make sure that you're sticking true to that. And remember, at the end of the day, these are young girls, young women that, that we're ultimately trying to build into and help empower into powerful women that can change the world one day. And I think we need to really make sure that we stay focused on that more than, how great of coaches we are or how great our team is or anything like that. But I'm always happy to network and talk with any travel ball coach or director that needs any advice from somebody who's been doing it a minute.
Okay, and then kind of like that same question, but like for photographers or somebody that wants to open up their studios, like what advice would you give them?
I don't know, because I'm still trying to figure out if I should open a studio. No, I think, listen, I think whether it's studio or whatever, at the end of the day, people that know me know that I'm a super passionate person. I want to be passionate about life and passionate about things. And I'm just passionate about getting up and doing stuff that I love to do. So I think whether it's photography or anything else, you just, if you're driven every day to get up and be great at it, then you're onto something. So figure out how to take what you're onto and make it more of your life. And it doesn't necessarily have to be all of your life, but give it a piece and really be the best that you can at it. And, I don't play golf. I don't do a lot of other things that I can't be really good at because I don't have the time. You only have so much bandwidth. So for me, I want to be a good dad, a good husband. I want to be a good softball director. And the only thing I really have left after that, bandwidth wise, is maybe being a little bit creative. I don't got much left after that. So, but when I do something, I want to do it well, so I go at it. And I would just say to anybody that wants to open a photography studio, love the process of being good at photography and really understand how to edit and really understand how to connect with people. That's been a huge advantage for me too as a photographer, is that I've been working with people, thousands of people through the Blaze program for over 20 years. So, I'm really comfortable working with all kinds of different people with different temperaments and stuff like that. So I think as a photographer, you want to be able to, be able to connect with people. So I think, work on that part of your skill set as well.
Okay. Is there anything, maybe you left out that you would like to tell, the listeners and people that's going to hear this, about the grand opening, or about anything that you have coming up, or that you're thinking about having in the future?
I would just say, I really, I've been doing softball for a long time. And so people know me in the softball space. And that's amazing. It's fantastic. I've been really blessed to do what I do in the Blaze program. But I also want to be known as a serious and great photographer. I believe there's room for me to be both. And that's because I do have a lot of great people around me, whether it's my support at home with my wife, and things like that, or supporting the Blaze with great leaders. I want to be able to be great as a photographer as well. And so I would say, just when you're thinking about photographers in the area, think about me, go check out what I'm doing, give me a shot to do something special for you, and I would just love, whether it's this Saturday, it'd be great if you could stop by from 12:30 to 4, but if not, you can always stop by another time or just get a hold of me and come by and check it out. And yeah, come and see me and let's create some magic.
Okay. So I asked Rylee this question. I think I asked you too. Like, who is somebody that you would like to see on the podcast? But you got to help me get. I know, like I told her, that contact. You got a lot of people in that contact list now.
Yeah.
You said a lot of great names and all that good stuff. So who would you like to see on the podcast?
I would like to see Sue Enquist. Sue is incredible. I met Sue in 2012. I was fortunate enough to go to the NFCA convention where she was the keynote speaker, I believe, that year. And if you don't know Sue Inquist, just Google her, because if you're in softball, which most of you are watching this, probably, she's one of the most important people that our game's ever known. So I think it's important that you know who she is and what she's contributed to the sport. But she's an incredible person. She's very empowering. The first time I saw her speak in 2012, I was just the hairs on my arm were raised. I just like, who is this unbelievable person? I was fortunate that I knew some coaches that knew her well, was able to introduce me. And I've been able to have a relationship with Sue for many years now. And, she knows my family. She knows Rylee, and obviously the UCLA connection. She knows Rylee too. But even before, when Rylee was 12 years old, Rylee met Sue, and she's a really, really inspiring person. I think if we could get her on something like this, that would be crazy. I certainly don't mind putting that bug in her ear. Like everybody, she's crazy busy, but you never know. And then I would say, if Sue's not, somebody I can get available, I would love for Kelly I, who is the head coach at UCLA. She's just an incredibly powerful voice. And I love every time that I talk to her. After every conversation I have with Kelly I, I'm inspired to be a better person. So I think she inspires everybody that way. There's a ton of people that in the softball space that I've met that are incredible that I would love to be on this. But I can certainly, make some phone calls. And if there's anybody that you would love to see on here, I have a lot of great relationships across the country with college coaches. So if there's somebody that you think could make a lot of sense for this podcast, I would be happy to reach out to them and see if we can't, get them on.
Okay. Yeah. We'll see. I'm gonna make my list. See,
good, man. Listen, what you're doing is important, bud. You're growing the sport for multiple reasons. You're growing the sport because you obviously love it. You have a kid who's a part of it. You obviously appreciate the game. You see how special the game is. I'm not speaking for you, but speaking for myself, softball is the greatest sport in the world. I firmly believe that. I love watching NFL football on Sundays, but I love the game of softball. I love the softball community. And so I appreciate you doing your part to just try to grow the sport, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're all trying to do, is make the sport better and grow it so that more young people want to be a part of it. And I think, you're doing a great job by getting out there and doing what you do. And I would love to have you come out on Saturday if you're not already busy at a tournament or something. You ought to come by and say hello in that athlete hour.
Okay. I'm gonna see what I got. I got a podcast.
Breon, you can do a live podcast there.
You right about that. You right about that.
You know what we could do? We could put you in the lights with the smoke. You can be doing your podcast and we shoot these media day shots. How cool would that be? Let's go.
All right. Going to Georgetown on Saturday.
Yeah, let's do it.
Now I will let you know though. I'm gonna talk to the wife, see if we make sure she don't have anything going on. And hey, if I can get out there, I will for sure. I will for sure get out there, and I will let you know. But again, I appreciate you for taking your time out and being on the podcast. It's really appreciated for someone like you to get on my little old podcast and talk on here. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, well, again, I appreciate what you're doing to help grow the sport. And, if I can help in any way, I want to be there to help. So I appreciate you too as well.
Okay. All right, man. So hopefully I'm gonna try to set that up for Saturday. I really would like to be out there, to see everything you got going on.
Yeah.
But I will for sure let you know for sure.
Sounds good. All right.
All right, man. Have a good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.